Well, hello, everyone. I thought you might be tired of seeing the back of my head as I conducted the choir, so I came up here to flash my award-winning smile. Some weeks ago, I expressed some concerns for welcoming new members to the church, specifically queer persons, especially after experiencing being misgendered and being misunderstood. These moments were not malicious, and they were mistakes made in love, but they still had an effect on me that I'd like to share with you today. Before I spill my innermost tea, I'd like to provide you with some context, queer history, and the history that we live through today. This is in an attempt to inform our empathy for one another. LGBTQIA2S. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, two-spirit. The gay alphabet keeps expanding, and these terms can really get away from you, especially when queer culture might not be in your immediate social circle. Questions create uncertainty, and uncertainty can be exploited. The current administration seeks to divide us through the use of misinformation, leaning on scary-sounding phrases like radical gender ideology and outright lies to dehumanize and demonize queer people. This is colonialism still at work in our lives, and it is not the first time these tactics have been used to oppress. What we think of today as gender non-conforming people have existed for as long as people have existed. The Aztecs depicted genderless gods and had drawings of priests in feminine clothing. Adharishnava is a prominent example of a Hindu god who embodies both male and female characteristics. But throughout history, it was not understood as non-conformity. It was just existence. In Mexico, there is documentation of Muxe people, the third gender, documentation dating back to 1521. The folklore goes that San Vicente Ferrer, the patron saint of Juchitan, was carrying 3 bags of seeds meant to be distributed around the world. The first contained male seeds, the second contained female seeds, and a third bag, the most fun bag, contained a mixture of the two. But as San Vicente was passing through Juchitan, the third bag ruptured, and from it sprang the town's famed community of Muxes, starting La Muxedad. So why don't we hear about this history, our shared history? Why do we have so much uncertainty about gender and sexuality and the roles they play in our society? It comes down to colonialism and, unfortunately, the work of the Christian church. Colonizers sought to reduce indigenous peoples to animal status, often through sexual violence and harsh labor exploitation that resulted in death. Colonizers spread the gender ideology held firm by the Catholic Church that there is a strict dichotomy between men and women. Heterosexual purity is a crucial characteristic of this dichotomy, which led to the elimination and repression of homosexuals and third gender people in rituals, decision-making, economics, daily life, often by violent means. Did you know that in Anishinaabe-Moan, a native language that spans over a large area of our continent, that there are 20 distinct terms for gender expression? These terms ranging from man, woman, spirit of man inside woman, manly woman, and so on. They're all distinct and beautiful in their own way. How amazing to be so specific and descriptive. And I know that it can feel complex and overwhelming to take in. But ponder this. On being Muxe, Felina Santiago offered, "We are people of two spirits. We are the duality, neither man nor woman. You are neither less nor more. You are neither less nor more. There is so much out there besides the binary that we are taught. To exist outside of the norm, as I do now, is an act of protest. To be trans, feminine, non-binary as I stand before you is an act of decolonization and defiance of our indoctrination into strict gender norms. My cha-cha heels are my combat boots. My makeup is my war paint. My beard is my right. The following statements might shock you, but this is a woman's beard. This is a woman's voice. This is how women look sometimes. This is what we're up against today. As of April 18th, over 850 anti-LGBTQ bills have been filled into 2025 so far. The most in US history. Majority are specifically anti-trans. Among other things, they target bathroom access, IDs, medical care, and even the legality of one's identity. This may be surprising to some of you, but to my queer community, this is just the next phase in an ongoing, coordinated attack against us. Republicans have been ramping it up yearly since 2020, when there was only a little over 100 anti-queer bills. 100 to 850 in just 5 years. They were angry after gay marriage passed with such overwhelming support, so to reverse the advance of progress, they started working away at the very outmost fringes where public support would be least concentrated. They started with exaggerating the issue of trans women competing in women's sports to rile up people and to get a foot in the door. Moved on to undermining the validity of gender-affirming care for trans youth, even though it is scientifically proven to save lives. And now, stepping up those attacks to chip away at our basic rights to exist and to go out in public, like with drag bans, which do not just apply to drag queens, but anyone who might be seen as a drag queen. Now, my makeup is not that good today, but some, especially some people who would want to hurt me, would consider me a drag queen, just to put me in jail. This is why I speak today on how to love thy neighbor. Queer people deserve to feel safe. We are fighting every day, and when we come into a safe space and get misgendered, we are sent into fight or flight. We are reminded that the fight is not over. So, how do we love our queer neighbors through this? Trans femme mechanic Jay Santora has a unique story that offers some insight. Jay noticed that when she started to dress more femininely at work, her customer base was vanishing. So when invited to do an interview about her auto shop, she jumped at the chance to shine a spotlight on her gayrage. Her words, not mine. Jay fielded all manner of questions, but one stopped her in her tracks. So, what was it like coming out as the owner of an automotive repair shop? You can tell I don't say automotive a lot. To which she replied, "Coming out? Who said I was out? I wasn't." Jay had only told a small circle of people and felt flustered. She recalls wanting to shut down the conversation and end it there. Then it hit her all at once. She had been living in hiding her entire life. She refused to live in the shadows. So she re-upped her insurance and prepared for the worst as she told her story. To her surprise, the phone started ringing off the hook. She suspected that they were hate callers, but they were customers. The gays flocked to her from near and far, crossing state lines and driving for a few days just to feel safe from discrimination. Even Jay's straight clientele increased. They appreciated her authenticity and honesty. They didn't need to completely understand everything as long as she was being true to herself. So how do we address the hate we see throughout the country? In automotive terms, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. But the squeaky wheel is usually the minority opinion. So we need more visibility, representation. We need more people to be loud and proud, and more consistency from allies. Every year, trans individuals throughout the country and the world lose their lives due to violence against our community. These are vibrant people who often lead very loving lives that are cut short due to hatred. Trans individuals are moms and dads, brothers and sisters, doctors, lawyers, politicians, neighbors, and friends. We're everywhere, and there's no reason for the hatred. All right. You have all noticed that I avoided a PowerPoint with a lesson on queer identities. I could talk for days on the subject, but I only have 20 minutes. At this time, I would like to field any questions that y'all would like to ask a queer person. It's a very far and in between experience. No question is off the table. I do not pretend to be an expert on all things queer, but I can help with whatever I can. I'll take about 6 questions at this time. Any brave souls? Any brave souls? Mary? Over here.
Sorry. What is something small that you have found encouraging in this current year?
Small that I found encouraging? Well, in my daily life, there is a lot of love. I feel a lot of love in this community, and a lot of people who ask really caring questions. There's also a lot of, since we are in a time of resistance, there's a lot of cool art going on. So I would say that's one really cool thing is there's a lot of trans and LGBTQ artists that are doing really cool things.
Gabi, when you say that some things have been said to you that have made you feel unsafe, I think would be really helpful to have some examples of things that have been said that have made you feel that way.
Yeah. I go into it a little bit more in the rest of the sermon, but just I've gotten some comments on the beard, so that's why I put it in there. I had one comment that said, "I love you without a beard," which on face value, they said that they loved me, right? I did reply and say, "Do you love me without the beard?" Or wait, "Do you love me with the beard?" And they, in the moment, replied, "No." And then I scolded them and said, "Well, then you don't love all of me." And later we had more of a conversation, and there were apologies exchanged, but I am not sure that the whole message got through. So things like that, and sometimes things when my gender gets, when I get misgendered, someone calls me by the wrong pronouns, that also can make people feel really unsafe.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you feel like we can grow? What are some ways that we can be more welcoming of the queer community at Southmin?
Yeah. It's all about educating yourself. I talk about this a little later too, but educating yourself because you know that there are people around you that you don't understand, and figuring out how to keep people safe in your presence, because I think that's something that we all want. We all want people to feel safe around us. So, educating yourself.
I often forget people's names if they're not on their chests here at church. And I often forget how to get the gender right. So do I just start by saying, I forgot your gender? What is the,
Oh my goodness, this is also in my sermon. Yes, I will address your question in the sermon. If you still have questions afterwards, please come find me. Any others?
What can I do with a trans grandchild to be most helpful to that person?
Sorry, getting emotional. A trans grandchild. It's important that you affirm them. You use their chosen name, that you use their right pronouns. It is important that you continue to learn about them. Ask them questions about what they like. Now that they're trans, do they like broccoli? I'm just being silly, but just keep learning about them. And as a young trans person, it's often so hard to find your community. So I would say that this year, you're going to Pride. Find something that you can do with your grandkid that shows them that you're still here walking with them and that you'll walk with them into the future. Go into the scary spaces with them.
Can I add something to that, Gabby?
Yeah.
So I like when I interact with kids and youth, but adults too, but particularly kids and youth, I like to ask, do you have a crush on someone? And not say the gender and assume that they like a boy or like a girl. And it really just creates that open space for them to feel safe in opening up. And you might be the first person for them to open up to, like, yeah, I have a crush on a girl in my class and I feel all weird about it. And it just shows that you're open to other possibilities.
Thank you, Jen. I did this with my niece just the other day. I hadn't seen her in a while, and I said, so who likes who? And she immediately was like, well, there's this cowboy named Tyler or whatever. I was like, cowboy named Tyler? It's also cute if you're saying, so do you have a crush on anyone? Are there any cute girls, cute boys? You can offer that it's okay. I'll take two more.
Gabi, do you feel safe here at Southminster?
Yes, I do. I do. On the large and whole, I feel safe here. And that's thanks to you. I wouldn't be able to stand up here if I didn't, so thank you. Yes, and this will be our last question.
If there was one thing we could do to make our community more open and welcoming to other people, how do we invite the other? Because I definitely come from understanding that the LGBTQ community feels cut off from Christianity. So what can we do to invite them in? What's the one action you feel like we're not doing that we should do?
That we're not doing that we should do? Oh, well, I want to give roses where they're due. We do a good job. We have our welcome banner. We are always affirming that we are open and honest and welcoming. A couple things that we've talked about that are in the works is we're going to start having pronouns be put onto our name tags. And I also think that just hosting more queer groups, inviting people into this space, into neutral space that's not necessarily church, but just to come and be in this space is a way to let people know that they're welcome. And it also takes us going from this space into their space. Share that discomfort with them. Go into spaces that do not make you feel comfortable and sort of feel what it likes to be in the reverse, you know? And I think people really respect that and want to get to know us and want to get to know you. Okay. If you have any more questions, you can come find me after. There are also a lot of informational, there's not a lot, there's two. The little slips of paper in the back talking about gender, sexuality, a glossary of terms. I also raided my local library, and there are a bunch of children's books up there that are accessible to all, and in the backs of some of them are notes for parents on how to talk about gender that I, as an adult, found very informing. So go and check those out. You can peruse those today, and they're free at the library if you ever want to pursue that. Thank you for all of your questions. I really appreciate it. Jesus sets the example that you should do as he has done for you. Pastor Scott spoke earlier this year about the intimacy behind Jesus washing the feet of his disciples. Acts of intimacy and care are not beneath us. It is not enough to know someone's pronouns and use them every now and then. We need allies to be more consistent, more persistent. Support queer businesses, shelters, medical centers. Donate your time, your resources to your neighbors. Not the others, not to the LGBTQ community, to your neighbors. We live down the street. We're right here. For a list of queer businesses and businesses that support queer people, there's a QR code in the back, or go to PDX Gay pages. I really appreciate the community that I found here. I really appreciate my choir. I do feel accepted wholly. And I appreciate all of the acts of love that have been extended my way. People offering me hand-me-downs, help, or a listening ear. Affirm people when you can. Offer rest and comfort from the daily fight. I know that it is hard to learn new things, just as hard as it might be to endure the awkward pain of kneeling before your friend to wash their feet. But I remind us, it's not beneath us. I would like to offer you all a practice I do when I meet queer people, or people that I may not understand. Excuse me. Because believe it or not, I struggle with using the correct pronouns for people. I am right here with you on this journey to rewire my brain to decolonize my thoughts. This is my secret. When I meet someone new, I think on them before I sleep, or when I am in a moment of free time. I pray for them. I repeat their pronouns over and over, and then I affirm them. Are you familiar with the practice of gratitude? To combat negativity, you flip the script from thinking about everything you don't have and appreciate everything that you do have. I do the same with gender nonconforming and trans people. It is so easy to see all the characteristics that disqualify a person, to list all the traits of a person that doesn't line up with your views and what you think their gender should be, might be. So when I hold a person in my thoughts, when I'm in prayer on a person, I list all the ways they do exemplify their identity. I'll use myself as an example because I am the one queer person that I know that you know. If I were to have met me, I would lay down and I would list things like petite. Her long hair makes her womanly. Her woman's smile. The way she holds herself. The nurturing she does for people. Oh, I made myself blush. And then if I was feeling feisty, I would tackle all the reasons that disqualify that person as their identity and challenge my perspective. Her hands are so large to do woman things with. It doesn't have to be serious, it can be silly, you know? Her big feet are so big, not like a man's though. Her feet are so big so they can fit into bigger, beautiful shoes. Something like that. This, at thinking on people in this way, affirming them in your brain and turning over their identity in your brain and thinking about them is an act of intimacy, of service to another person. You are preparing your heart to hold that person and to honor them. And what is more like Jesus than that? Just as our Mushe friend Felina Santiago said, you are neither less nor more. So you meet a person, you suspect they're queer, maybe it's the blue hair or the same-sex partner on their arm, or maybe they're towering, heel-wearing, bearded thing standing before you. How to approach? Well, don't be weird, say hello. Your curiosity is burning. You feel a question on the tip of your tongue. Stop, ask yourself, why am I curious about that? In my opinion, there are two types of curiosity when meeting anyone. Curiosity that lets you avoid using Google, and curiosity that helps you understand and protect a person better. Questions should not make people justify themselves to you rather than introduce themselves. Make questions that make people feel welcome, not uncomfortable. Ask yourself, would you ask a friend about what's going on in their pants? Probably not. The best way to introduce yourself to a queer person, or any person, is to say, hi, my name is Gabi. I use she, her pronouns, and they, them pronouns. What is your name? How would you like me to refer to you? What pronouns do you use? Including your pronouns when introducing yourself makes it feel normal and safe to share that information, because it is. You are opening that door in a loving and inviting way, and from there you can have a normal conversation. Because like Jay said, trans individuals are moms, dads, brothers, and sisters. We are everywhere. But what about my questions? Do some work at home or go meet people in the community. If you want to understand people, then you may have to do some research of your own and get out there and get uncomfortable. If it's a burning question, you can ask the person, are you feeling safe enough for me to ask an uncomfortable question? Is now a good time to ask something that I don't know is appropriate? And give them the power to tell you, not right now. I hope that if you are in that moment and they say no, that makes you happy, that someone was brave enough to take the offer of safety and comfort that you extended their way. To close, I would like to say, you do not need to understand a person fully to love them wholly. Amen.